direct selling is an immensely powerful tool in the arsenal of authors in the self-publishing industry, allowing us a slight edge over traditional authors in taking full control over our business. However, its power can be rather daunting and, depending on your circumstances, has the potential to be intensely physically and financially draining. I officially started direct selling my books around the same time I started publishing them, in the summer of 2023 when I debuted with When the Stars Alight, the first in my dark romantic fantasy trilogy. For this, I decided to use BookVault, a UK-based print-on-demand company that enabled me to create high-quality paperbacks and hardcovers at reasonable prices. Other than the quality of the books themselves, which I feel are unmatched by any other printers on the market, the company being print-on-demand meant that I was not financially burdened by paying out for a minimum order of units that may not earn back on their investment. Instead, BookVault provides its authors with the flexibility to not only print a book when an order is made, but also to automate said order by integrating directly with the e-commerce platform you are using to sell your books. When it comes to the platforms on offer, the options are numerous, including popular e-commerce options such as Shopify, WooCommerce via WordPress, Payhip, and Wix. I personally use Payhip, and there are a few reasons why that I will get to in just a moment. But before that, I want to give an overview of all the e-commerce platforms that I have personally tried, and what I feel are the benefits and drawbacks of each of them. With Etsy being the most well-known e-commerce platform, I at first got started with my direct selling journey using that site before any other. I know many author colleagues of mine swear by it, and have attained great commercial success through it. For me personally, however, there was an issue I could just not overcome, and that was the fees and the taxes. I just want to go through this monthly statement in March of 2023 when I was only ever selling my limited edition lockets for the main couple in my series. At the time, I had been selling the lockets for about £30 and offering a 10% pre-order discount. And 3 people purchased through Etsy before I eventually closed that store and went over to Payhip. As you can see, the fees were quite a bit amount, totaling up to £12.31, including a listing fee, a transaction fee, a processing fee, a regulatory operating fee, and VAT on a seller's fee. With all that combined, that's nearly a 15% reduction in profits to cover the fees, which, when you're just starting out, is not a negligible figure, in my personal opinion. I want to draw particular attention to the listing fee here because I feel it is the main allure of putting up with Etsy that it can be a struggle with other platforms. The marketplace comes built in, thus it's easier to build a customer base without having to constantly drive traffic to a website on your own merit. If taking on the burden of marketing your store seems like a torment to you, then it may be worth sucking up the fees with Etsy. This, along with automatically calculated and paid for shipping, alleviates a lot of the burden for authors who already have to wear so many hats in the business, so it's certainly worth considering. I certainly won't rule out returning to Etsy, now that I've grown a bit more stable in my e-commerce standing, but there might be one more barrier to access before taking the plunge, which again I shall get to in a moment, so keep that in mind for later. Probably the most popular option for e-commerce after Etsy, Shopify tends to be the go-to platform for not only small businesses, but much bigger brands. It's not difficult to see why, considering it's very easy to automate, with the widest range of apps and plugins available to use. It's also incredibly simple to customize, requiring little to no coding knowledge for a user to create a functional and aesthetically pleasing website, making it appealing to those who are a bit more tech-shy when it comes to website design. I myself first looked into getting a Shopify before I eventually settled on Payhip, and the biggest mark against it was again, the costs. While it doesn't quite have the laundry list of fees that Etsy has, Shopify does require an annual subscription to get up and running. The cheapest plan on offer is the basic, which is going for £25 per month or £228 per year if you choose to be billed yearly. But the costs don't quite stop there. While I mentioned Shopify's wide integration with apps and plugins to be one of its greatest strengths, it also happens to be one of its greatest expenses. Many of the apps on offer have a hidden charge behind them, and while they come with free trials, you will need to keep on top of them lest you get billed for them at the end of the month. This can extend to customization options, where even something as simple as including a page of FAQs comes at an expense. So I wouldn't really recommend Shopify for someone just starting out. If you have a solid dependable profit margin, then it might be worth looking into, but for a beginner, there are platforms far less fiscally taxing. foray into TikTok Shop was very brief, so I don't really have too much to say on it. It is an appealing platform for authors who already use the app for much of their self-promotion, because integrating your store with a business account can boost your visibility and help you kill two birds with one stone. The main thing that put me off from the platform was the prohibitive requirement that you must ship an order within 48 hours to the customer's address, otherwise the order will be cancelled, the customer will be refunded, and you will receive nothing. I've heard of cases like this occurring even after you do ship the order, meaning that you operate at a loss and TikTok tends to punish you for a certain amount of delays by suspending your account. I quickly decided that sort of fast-paced environment is ideal for me as someone who dropships and doesn't keep stock at my house, so I decided to back away from TikTok Shop as an option early on. Now we come to my personal platform of choice, and the one that I recommend to you if you're just starting out for two simple reasons. Number one is that Payhip is completely free. It does have paid options if you'd like to decrease their 5% transaction fee, which is rather high, but there are no hidden features stashed behind a paywall like there are with Shopify, for example. With Payhip, what you see is very much what you get. Number two is customization options are also very good with Payhip, if somewhat limited. All stores come with a free pre-made theme that can be altered to one's liking, and requires very little website building yourself. As you can see, I've made quite a simple but efficient store just by tinkering with the options available to me that I'm more than pleased with. The main drawback with Payhip is it doesn't have the same opportunity for exposure as other platforms do. With both Shopify and Etsy, there are dedicated apps and marketplaces that allow for the opportunity of organic exposure that isn't driven by your own promotional efforts. Payhip, while having recently launched a digital-only marketplace, requires a constant drive of traffic to your store to see any decent returns. I use a combination of TikTok, Pinterest, and Instagram to reach my audience and convert them into potential customers, which I have moderate success with, but there is a definite potential for improvement. The secondary drawback of Payhip is that it is primarily a digital e-commerce platform. This means, while it has a lot of features designed for the selling of digital files, it can be somewhat lacking when it comes to physical products. In particular, the shipping profiles, which can be time-consuming to set up because you'll need to tailor it for every product instead of it being calculated for you. Regardless of this, I feel I have been served well in Payhip, and its integration with BookVault has completely revolutionized the efficiency of my business. I mentioned before with Etsy there was another barrier to access, and that's on the issue of my stock. In the beginning of my e-commerce journey, I would order stock directly to my house and do all of the packaging, printing of labels, and scheduling of deliveries with my own two hands. Because of the demands of having a full-time job and limited space, I found this could quickly become chaotic, especially when I had several orders coming in at once during a month. Finding the time to ensure I would be present for a collection, or be able to drop off at my delivery office in a very narrow time frame of opening hours, having to purchase my own packaging, labels and printer, and keeping track of inventory, was all starting to add up in small ways until eventually I had to put it to a halt. With BookVault integration on the other hand, the only thing I had to ensure was that the order was paid in full, and they would handle the rest. They create the order, print the book, package it, and ship it to the customer, which takes all the pressure off of my hands to focus on other pursuits. If you happen to live outside of the UK and the US, where BookVault printers are typically based, then this might be even more useful, as you can claim both the print costs and a shipping fee from the customer to cover expenses, pocketing what remains of the profits for yourself. In the future, I might return to holding in-house stock, because one issue I do tend to run into with automated drop shipping is that the printing times can be rather extensive, especially when you ship bespoke special edition books with additional features like foiling and sprayed edges. Print times can run on average from as little to a week to as long as a month during busy peak times such as over the Christmas break, and I think I prefer to improve customer experience by being able to return to including free prints, stickers, and customized envelopes. So, now that I've finished pitching Payhip, are there any other options I'd look into? Well, there might just be one. There's a saying that what you don't pay for with money, you instead spend in time. I find this is no more apt than when it comes to WooCommerce, which, contrary to the options preceding it, is completely free and open source. That being said, it can also heavily require the patience, fortitude, and expertise in website design to make it remotely functional. I currently have my own website with a company called Crystal UK, which allows me to host a WordPress real proxy and have the ability to use WooCommerce. The problem was, venturing into designing my own website was a steep learning curve. I consider myself to be someone fairly tech-savvy, but I did hire a freelancer to design my website. Shout out to Quinton Lee, whose own website I will link in the description, and would frequently get overwhelmed just by the sheer amount of flexibility and control I had over the website design. This is something that took me some time to overcome, but I've decided to expand my e-commerce reach by attaching the store solely for physical products to my main Opera website using WooCommerce. It will mainly be for physical stock, purely because Payhip still edges out when it comes to features for digital products, such as having Pay What You Want, which is a plugin option that comes with a subscription fee on WooCommerce, and I think it works out nicely to have a store for my physical items and a store for my digital items. With this agenda in mind, I do intend to slowly start phasing out my physical listings on Payhip, so in the near future, I will start to actively direct people to my WooCommerce platform for physical products. If you happen to like paperbacks and hardcovers with that exclusive special edition feel, then please consider giving the store a look. And thank you for reaching the end of this video. I hope it was of help. Remember to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any updates from me. Until next time.